Captain Ryan Blake had seen many strange things in space, but nothing like this. He was on a solo mission, patrolling the edge of a newly discovered system. Everything was going fine until the control panel lit up in red. Warning, system failure. The ship's eye repeated over and over. Before Ryan could react, the engine exploded, and the ship started spinning out of control. Sparks flew, the lights blinked, and the ship was pulled by gravity toward a nearby planet. Ryan grabbed the emergency lever and braced for impact. The small explorer ship hit the ground hard, sliding. Through thick jungle trees, metal screamed, glass shattered, and smoke filled the cabin. Then silence. Ryan coughed and pulled off his helmet. His head hurt, and his arms were bleeding. But he was alive. He looked out through the broken window. Tall purple trees surrounded the crash site. The sky was green, with 2 suns shining above. It was not Earth, and it was definitely not on the map. Location check, he asked. But there was no response. The communication systems were dead. He stepped out, slowly walking through the wreckage. His boots sank slightly into the soft, glowing ground. The planet was quiet, but it felt like something or someone was watching him. Then he heard movement. Strange figures appeared from the trees. Tall, armored beings with blue skin and silver helmets. They moved fast, surrounding him in seconds. Ryan raised his hands. "I come in peace," he said quickly. They didn't respond. One of them pointed a glowing staff at him, and before he could move, darkness took him. When Ryan woke up, he was in a large room. No, a hall. The walls were smooth stone, carved with glowing symbols. He was lying on soft cushions, and his wounds were gone. Alien medicine, he guessed. The air was warm, and a sweet smell floated around him. He sat up slowly, confused and alert. Then, heavy doors opened, and guards walked in. Behind them was a tall woman, elegant, glowing, powerful. She had silver eyes and long white hair, and she wore a dress that looked like starlight. She walked to Ryan, looked at him closely, and smiled, almost as if she was amused. "You are awake, human," she said in clear English, her voice calm and royal. Ryan blinked. "You speak my language." "I do," she replied. "You are the one chosen by the bond." Ryan stood up slowly. "Bond? What bond?" She tilted her head, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "You walked into the sacred zone," she said. "By doing that, you triggered an ancient tradition." Ryan shook his head. "I didn't mean to. It doesn't matter," she said. With a sigh, "The law is clear." She turned and raised her hand toward the guards. They bowed and left the room, leaving the two alone. The woman looked at him and crossed her arms. "You will now be joined to me, as tradition demands," she said, her tone firm. Ryan blinked. "Wait, joined to you? You mean married?" "Yes," she replied, as if it was the most normal thing in the world. "You're taking me as your wife? Really?" Ryan asked, shocked. The alien princess raised one elegant eyebrow. "You seem surprised," she said. "But I am surprised, too." She sat down on a floating chair that rose from the floor. "The ritual chooses." "Not us," she added softly. Ryan stepped back, trying to understand. "I don't even know your name." "I am Veralia," she said proudly. "Princess of the Zerine Empire." Ryan sighed, rubbing his forehead. "This has to be a mistake. I once believed in mistakes." Veralia said, standing again. "But when the stars choose, we must listen." He looked at her, unsure what to say. He was just a pilot, a man from Earth, and now he was tied to a glowing alien princess on a strange planet. He didn't believe in destiny, but something strange was happening here. Before he could ask more questions, the ground below them shook slightly. Veralia looked toward the ceiling, her face suddenly serious. "The void is moving," she whispered, more to herself than to him. Ryan frowned. "What's the void?" She looked back at him, her silver eyes full of mystery. "The reason why the ritual exists," she said, "and why you must stay." Ryan didn't understand it all yet, but one thing was clear. He had crashed into something much bigger than just a planet. and his journey was just beginning. Ryan Blake opened his eyes to golden sunlight pouring through tall, crystal windows. But it wasn't Earth's sun. And this wasn't his ship. The bed beneath him was softer than clouds. But he couldn't relax. Yesterday, he crash-landed, got captured, and was told by an alien princess that he was now her husband. His head was spinning. He stood up slowly and walked across the room. Strange floating lights guided his steps. Guards stood outside the doorway, their armor shining like polished stone. They didn't speak. They only nodded and let him down. A glowing hallway. He felt like a prisoner, a guest, and a royal all at once. The palace was alive. Walls hummed softly, like a heartbeat. People in strange clothes bowed slightly as he passed, but their eyes weren't friendly. He heard whispers, felt tension, and sensed one thing clearly. They didn't want him. Here, in the royal chamber, Princess Veralia stood in front of a giant map. She didn't smile today, Ryan Blake, she said, without turning. Your presence is causing waves across the empire. Ryan crossed his arms. I didn't ask for any of this. I know, she replied. But the ritual was clear. She finally turned. Her silver eyes tired but sharp. There are rules in Zyrene culture, she continued. You must now begin your trial of unity. Ryan raised an eyebrow. What's that? Some kind of alien honeymoon? Veralia gave a small smirk. No, it's how we test if a bonded pair can truly lead together. Lead what? Ryan asked. Our people, she said simply. Before he could protest, the doors opened and a tall figure stepped in. He wore a black cloak and a serious face. This is General Kyrix, Veralia introduced. He will prepare you, General. Kyrix did not hide his dislike. You are untrained, undisciplined, and human, he said coldly. But the stars chose you, so now I must make you worthy. Training began immediately. Ryan was taken to a massive open ground with gravity slightly heavier than Earth. He was made to run, climb, dodge energy blasts, and study Zyrene history. His muscles screamed, his head ached, but something in him refused to give up. Every evening, Veralia would visit the training grounds. Sometimes she brought news, sometimes strange fruits. Sometimes she just watched him from a distance. She never said it. But Ryan could tell. She was testing him too. One night, Ryan walked into the royal gardens to breathe. The stars above him looked like diamonds swimming in ink. He sat on a bench, thinking about Earth, his mission, his old life. Veralia joined him quietly. You still want to leave, she said softly. Ryan nodded. I didn't crash here on purpose, but something brought you here, she said. And now your fate is tied to ours. Ryan looked at her. Why me? Why not someone stronger, smarter, more royal? Veralia looked up at the stars. The ritual doesn't pick based on strength. It picks based on potential. You think I have potential? He asked. I think you haven't discovered it yet, she replied, her voice almost kind. Suddenly, alarms echoed across the palace. Guards ran in all directions. Lights turned red. General Kyrix stormed in, his face pale. There's been an attack. Someone tried to poison the high table's water. Veralia stood tall. Activate all shields. Lock the council wing. Ryan looked around. What's happening? Someone inside wants to break the bond, she said, her eyes now sharp. If they kill you, the bond ends. Ryan's heart pounded. He had trained, yes, but not for this. He wasn't a hero, not yet. But now, someone was trying to assassinate him. That night, guards were doubled. And Veralia refused to sleep. She stayed near Ryan, as if her presence alone could shield him. Their conversation was no longer about tradition or duty. It was survival. Ryan walked through the palace, remembering every corner, every shadow. He noticed a servant carrying a silver tray, moving too quickly. Something about the movement felt wrong. He followed silently, watching the figure slip into the kitchen. There, the servant dropped the disguise, revealing a dark-skinned Zyrene with sharp red tattoos. He poured something into a crystal bottle, a glowing green liquid. Ryan rushed in and knocked the bottle away. The would-be assassin turned and swung, but Ryan dodged and tackled him. Guards came rushing in as the man tried to vanish, but was too late. Veralia entered moments later, her face unreadable. "You saved the council," she said quietly. Ryan was breathing hard. "I didn't think, I just moved. That's called instinct," she replied, "and leadership." As guards dragged the assassin away, Veralia looked at Ryan differently, not as a stranger, not as a mistake of fate, but maybe, just maybe, as a partner. But in the shadows of the palace halls, another figure watched, eyes glowing, voice whispering to the wind, "If the human lives, our empire falls." The palace was calm on the outside, but inside, it felt like a storm was building. Servants whispered, guards looked over their shoulders, and even the glowing walls seemed colder. Ryan could feel it in his bones. Something was wrong. Days had passed since the poisoning attempt. Since then, Ryan was kept under high security, trained harder, and shown how to spot a traitor. But no one knew how deep the shadows went. Ryan now walked through the royal hall. It was a massive space of floating platforms and glowing chandeliers. Above, star patterns moved like slow rivers. Below, nobles gathered in circles, dressed in light and color, speaking in soft tones that didn't match their sharp eyes. Princess Veralia walked beside him, her presence calm but alert. She wore a crown of living light today, a symbol of control. "This is the High Alignment Council," she said. "They advise, they guide, and sometimes they plot." Ryan looked around. "You don't trust them?" "I trust few," she replied. "But today, we test the waters." Ryan was introduced to the council as the human bound by the ritual. Some bowed, others didn't. One old man smiled politely and said, "Let's hope your kind doesn't bring Earth politics here." Laughter followed, but it didn't feel real. Suddenly, the lights flickered, only for a second. But in that moment, something shifted. Ryan felt it, not with his eyes, but with his gut. After the council, Veralia led him into a narrow passage behind the hall. "Come with me," she said. "There's something you must see." They entered a dark chamber filled with glowing scrolls and moving holograms. "This is the truth room," she said. "Every major event recorded here." She showed him a file, an ancient ritual, a war between the Zerine and a race called the Voidborn. "They don't destroy worlds," she said. "They erase them, mind, memory, soul." Ryan studied the image, a dark mist consuming entire cities, and this thing is coming back. "Yes," she whispered. "And the bond ritual?" "It wasn't about marriage, not at first." She explained the truth. Long ago, humans had contact with the Zerine. A secret alliance was formed, combining human heart with Zerine power. A bond that could resist the void. That alliance vanished in history, until now, when Ryan walked into the sacred zone. "Your crash was no accident," she said. "Something, or someone, guided you." As they left the truth room, a guard ran toward them, breathless. "Your Highness, the archives have been burned." Verelia's face turned pale. "What?" "No survivors. It was a shadow attack." They rushed to the site, where smoke rose into the night sky. Dozens of bodies, all marked by the same red tattoo symbol Ryan saw before. Ryan clenched his fists. "This is a message," Veralia nodded. "Yes, they know you're learning too much." That night, Ryan couldn't sleep. He stood on the balcony outside his chamber, looking at the stars. He felt distant from Earth. Not just in miles, but in life year. He mattered, and that was both powerful and dangerous. A soft voice broke his thoughts. "You are thinking too loud," Veralia said with a smile. Joining him, Ryan smirked. "Is that an alien thing? Mind reading?" "No, it's a woman thing," she replied lightly. They shared silence for a while. Then Veralia asked, "Do you regret it, being here?" "I don't know," Ryan said honestly. "But I know I can't walk away." Suddenly there was a sharp blast. A window shattered, alarm screamed. An explosion rocked the floor beneath them. Ryan grabbed Veralia, pulling her to cover. Guards rushed in, shouting, "Intruder in the north wing." Ryan and Veralia ran toward the chaos. Smoke filled the halls, screams echoed. And in the center stood a single figure, tall, cloaked, glowing with red lines. He moved like liquid shadow, cutting through guards like paper. Ryan reached for a dropped energy blade and charged. The figure turned. A familiar face. Ryan froze. It was Toril, the translator who welcomed him when he first arrived. The one who served him food, smiled politely, and showed him around the palace. A trusted face, now twisted with rage. "You were never meant to live," Toril hissed. "The bond must break before it becomes real." Ryan tightened his grip. "You betrayed her. I served her," Toril shouted. By keeping the old ways alive, they clashed. Ryan's human instincts against alien speed. Blades hit. Sparks flew. Ryan's arm burned from a near miss. But he managed a heavy strike to Toril's side. The traitor stumbled, cursed, and vanished in a burst of smoke. The battle was over. But the message was clear. The shadows were not just around them. They were within, and someone very powerful wanted this bond to end before it could truly begin. The galaxy had always hidden its secrets in silence. But tonight, the silence broke. The royal halls were sealed after the attack. Smoke still hung in the air like a warning. Ryan stood over the blood-stained floor where Toril had vanished. He couldn't stop thinking about one question. Why would someone so close to Veralia betray her like that? Veralia stood beside him, silent. Her silver eyes filled with a pain she refused to show. She had trusted Toril since childhood. Now her trust felt like a wound. That night, she sent everyone away. Only Ryan was allowed in the Royal Observatory. A quiet, high chamber with a glass ceiling that opened to the stars. The stars above Zerine flickered, alive with ancient light. She spoke softly, her voice steady but distant. "There is something I haven't told you." Ryan turned to her, his face serious. "I figured," he said. "It's time to stop hiding things." Veralia took a deep breath, then pointed to the largest star in the sky. "That," she said, "is Earth's sun." Ryan frowned. "How do you know that?" She walked to a control panel and pressed her hand to it. The glass ceiling shimmered and shifted, turning into a massive galactic map. Lines connected systems like veins in a body. One line glowed bright between Zerine and Earth. "We were connected once," she said. "Long before your people remember." Ryan stepped closer, heart pounding. "Are you saying humans and Zerine met before?" "Yes," she nodded. "Thousands of years ago, your ancestors came here, and ours went to Earth." She touched a second panel, and a faded image appeared. A human in ancient armor, standing beside a Zerine warrior. "They bonded," Veralia said, "and their power stopped the Voidborn once before." Ryan stared at the image, stunned. "No one on Earth remembers this," he whispered. "Because someone made sure they forgot," Veralia replied. "The alliance was hidden, erased from both sides." "Why?" Ryan asked. "Because power scares people," she said, "and the bond. It changes more than just bloodlines. It creates something new." Ryan felt dizzy, like the galaxy had suddenly turned upside down. "So this ritual, this bond between us, it's not just tradition." "No," Veralia said, turning to him. "It's legacy." They stared at each other, the weight of truth between them. But before either could speak, a soft tone echoed through the observatory. It was a signal, quiet, hidden beneath layers of static. The old system came alive, and a voice whispered through the coms. "Earth Station Echo. Repeating distress. Zerine contact requested. Voidborn awakening." Ryan's eyes went wide. "That's from Earth," Veralia nodded slowly. "The Voidborn are moving again." The signal cut out, and silence returned. Ryan looked at the galactic map again. Earth's line was now pulsing red. He felt a chill. "They're coming for my planet." Veralia looked at him with fire in her voice. "And we're going to stop them." She led him deep into the palace's restricted zone. There, Beneath the royal temple was a door made of star metal, older than the palace itself. She placed both hands on it, and it opened with a deep hum, revealing a forgotten chamber. Inside, walls were covered in carvings, humans and Zyrene fighting side by side. A giant artifact stood in the center, a fusion of earth metal and Zyrene crystal. Ryan walked toward it, drawn by something beyond logic. What is this? It's called the Star Core, Viralia whispered, the last creation of the ancient bond. As Ryan touched it, the artifact lit up. Glowing with both blue and gold, images flashed in his mind. Cities crumbling, stars breaking, Earth burning. He pulled back, gasping. That's a vision. Viralia said, a possible future. Ryan turned to her, voice firm. Then we need to stop it, now, she nodded. But her face held a new tension. There's one more thing, she said. The bond between us is not complete yet. Ryan raised an eyebrow. We're already bonded, aren't we? Halfway. She said, the final stage merges energy, memory, and will. What happens then? If we succeed, she said, we become stronger than either of us alone. And if we fail? The Voidborn won't need to attack. We'll destroy each other from within. Ryan was quiet. He wasn't ready for this. But maybe readiness wasn't the point. He looked up at the stars above, then down at the Star Core. A war was coming. Earth was in danger, and somewhere inside him, something old, something forgotten, was waking up. But deep within the void, far beyond the reach of stars, a monstrous voice growled. The bond has reawakened, it hissed. Find the human. Tear the light from his soul. A storm rolled above the palace, but it wasn't made of clouds. It was energy, dark, electric, unnatural. The sky cracked open with silent lightning, and the stars seemed to blink out. One by one, the void was waking up, and time was running out, inside the sacred chamber beneath the palace. Ryan stood at the edge of a glowing platform, his heart pounded. All around him, walls shimmered with alien glyphs that moved like liquid thought. In front of him stood Viralia, her armor fitted tight to her body, her eyes cold with purpose. This is the trial, she said quietly. The final step before the bond is sealed. Ryan looked around. What do I have to do? Viralia stepped closer. Not what, who. The walls opened, revealing a dark tunnel. From it came a tall figure. It looked like Ryan, but hollow, pale, and with black fire in its eyes. This is your echo, Viralia explained. The void creates shadows of who we are and feeds on them. The echo tilted its head and grinned. You're weak, it whispered. You crash, you complain, and you think you're chosen. Ryan clenched his fists. I'm not afraid of myself. But you are, the echo replied. Suddenly the echo charged. Ryan dodged, barely avoiding a blow that cracked the floor. They fought in bursts of light and shadow, each strike a reflection of doubt. Every time Ryan hesitated, the echo grew stronger. Meanwhile, Viralia entered her own trial, facing a ghost of her mother. The ghost spat cold words. You trust a human to carry royal blood? You shame your ancestors. But Viralia didn't bow. She stepped forward, her voice steady. My strength isn't in blood, it's in choice. Back on Ryan's platform, the fight turned brutal. The echo struck his side, burning his skin. He fell to his knees, breath shallow. The shadow stepped closer, raising a final blow. Ryan looked up, and instead of fighting, he whispered, You're part of me, and I accept you. The echo froze, then began to melt, dissolving into stardust. The platform lit up in golden light, and Ryan stood, stronger, not because he destroyed the shadow, but because he understood it. Across the chamber, Viralia's ghost vanished too. Her trial ended with truth, not rage. The two of them walked toward each other, the lights around them pulsing in rhythm. The Star Core appeared between them again, now fully awake. Now comes the final merge, Viralia said. Ryan reached out without fear. They both touched the Star Core at the same time. A shockwave exploded through the chamber. Memories passed between them, childhood, War, silence, joy, pain, love, death, laughter, earth, stars, everything. They saw each other fully, no secrets left. When the light faded, they stood as one. Their bond was no longer a rule or a ritual, it was real. But even as they caught their breath, alarms began to scream above. A soldier rushed in, armor scorched, eyes wide. "My queen, the shield over the palace has fallen." Veralia turned to Ryan, voice low. "They've arrived." Suddenly, the walls shook and the air went cold. The sky above the palace turned pitch black through the window. They saw them, tall figures made of shadows and bone, walking through fire, the Voidborn. But one figure stood above them all, a massive shape with 6 arms, glowing ribs, and a crown of dark flame. It raised one claw and pointed toward the palace. "I smell the bond," it hissed across space. "I smell the fear." Ryan stepped beside Veralia, energy crackling at his fingertips. "Let's give them something else to smell," he said. Veralia smirked. "Like courage." Together, they stepped into the firelight. One human, one alien, one bond, one war. The palace trembled, not from wind or earthquakes, but from the weight of something ancient walking across the land. The Voidborn had arrived. Ryan stood on the highest balcony of the watchtower, staring at the battlefield below. A black mist spread like a living ocean across the glowing Zerine plains. Out of it marched thousands, tall skeletal warriors, with armor made of ash and eyes like burning ice. At the center of them stood their leader, a beast 3 times the size of a man, with horns made of dark crystal. Ryan didn't speak. He didn't need to. He could feel it in his blood, the bond inside him reacting, heating, calling behind him. Veralia finished giving orders to her commanders. She turned toward him, her royal cloak fluttering in the rising wind. "They will breach the city within hours," she said. Ryan nodded slowly. "Then we stop them before they reach the gates." Veralia touched a glowing panel on her wrist. The ground beneath the palace shifted. Suddenly, hidden towers rose from beneath the earth, each one humming with energy. Warships floated into the sky, shaped like silver daggers, ready to fire. The Empire wasn't going down without a fight. Ryan followed Veralia to the front lines. Zerine soldiers lined up, their weapons charged, their faces serious. Most of them had never seen a Voidborn before, only heard legends, and now legends were walking toward them. Ryan stood at the center, holding a blade of fused tech, earth metal mixed with starcore light. It pulsed in his hand alive. He looked at the army ahead and whispered, "Let's make history." Then, the silence cracked, and the war began. Explosions lit the sky. Energy blasts flew like shooting stars. Zerine ships swooped down, targeting the biggest Voidborn beasts. But for every enemy they burned, more rose from the mist. Ryan fought on the ground, side by side with elite warriors. His human instincts made him unpredictable, fast, smart, and wild. He moved through the battlefield like lightning, striking and dodging, protecting and destroying. Veralia led her own charge, flying through the air in her battle armor. Her voice echoed through coms, guiding troops, saving lives. Their bond let them feel each other's presence even across the chaos. But the Voidborn leader watched them from a distance, unmoving. Then slowly, it raised one hand, and everything stopped. Time bent, the wind died, and a soundless scream tore through the air. Suddenly, Ryan collapsed, his chest burning. He saw images flash before his eyes, his old life, his crash, his doubts. The Voidborn were inside his mind. "Ryan." Veralia called through the link. "Fight it." He clenched his teeth, focusing on her voice. Her memories became his shield, her laughter, her fire, her pain, her strength. With a roar, he broke free from the illusion, light exploding from his chest. The Voidborn around him shrieked and dissolved. The soldiers nearby looked in awe. The human was glowing, but the leader stepped forward now. It walked through the fire, eyes locked on Ryan. "You are not chosen," the monster growled. "You are a mistake." Ryan stepped forward, sword in hand. "No, he said. I'm a warning. They clashed. The battlefield froze as man and monster collided, each strike shaking the earth. Ryan held his ground, even as the Voidborn's claws tore through his armor. But he fought not for glory. He fought for Earth. For Veralia, for the bond that made him more than human. Suddenly, a sharp cry echoed through the sky. Veralia, flying above, was hit by a dark spear. She crashed onto the palace steps, unmoving. Ryan screamed, energy bursting from him like a sun exploding. The Voidborn leader stumbled back. Hissing, Ryan ran to Veralia, lifting her into his arms. Her eyes were half closed, lips trembling. I'm still here, she whispered. Ryan touched his forehead to hers. Don't leave me, he said. Not now. She smiled weakly. Then when? He stood slowly, facing the battlefield. Everything had led to this. The bond wasn't a title anymore. It was a fire, and he was ready to burn. Smoke covered the battlefield like a blanket of sorrow. Zyrine warriors lay wounded. Broken ships burned across the skyline. And in the center stood Ryan Blake, his eyes full of rage. The woman he never asked to marry, but somehow grew to care for deeply, now lay barely breathing behind him. And the monster that caused it all, the Voidborn King, was still standing. Ryan's armor was torn, his blade cracked, but the bond inside him pulsed like a second heartbeat, louder with every breath. He wasn't just human anymore. He was something new, something born between two worlds. The Voidborn leader stepped forward. You think this is love? It hissed. This is weakness. Ryan's voice was calm, cold. No, this is what makes me dangerous. With one hand he raised the Starcore blade, now glowing bright with both blue and gold light. The Voidborn charged, black flames shooting from its hands, but Ryan didn't dodge. He ran straight through it. Every memory, every scar, every piece of pain became fuel. He was done running. They clashed again and again, light against shadow, heart against hunger. The battlefield lit up like a storm. Every Zyrine and Voidborn paused as the two titans fought above the palace stairs. And then, Ryan struck deep. The blade pierced through the monster's chest. The Voidborn screamed, black mist exploding outward. But with its dying breath, it whispered, "You cannot hold what you've become." Suddenly, Ryan fell to one knee. The Starcore energy inside him flared wildly. His body began to crack with light. Veralia stirred behind him, her voice soft and broken. "Ryan, no." He turned to her, smiling weakly. "I think I pushed it too far," he said. "But I had to, for you, for Earth." She crawled to him, cradling his face in her hands. "You're not leaving me now," she whispered. But he shook his head gently, unjust. "Going somewhere you can't follow yet." He placed something in her palm, a silver ring fused with Zyrine crystal. "It's real now," he said. "The bond. It's real." The light inside him reached its peak. Veralia kissed his forehead, tears mixing with stardust, and with one final breath, Ryan looked at her and said, "Tell the stars I kept my promise." The sky exploded with white light. The Voidborn army dissolved into dust. The storm lifted, and silence returned. When it was over, Veralia stood alone at the palace gate. Her cloak torn, her heart shattered, but her eyes burned bright. Behind her, the people of Zyrine rose slowly from the ashes. They had lost many, but they had not fallen. A human had saved them, not as a warrior, but as a bond. 1 week later, a ceremony was held under the twin suns. The people called it the Day of the Bonfire. A statue of Ryan was raised, not as a king or soldier, but as a bridge between stars. Veralia stood before the people and spoke with strength. "He didn't come here to rule or to fight," she said. "He came here by accident, but he stayed by choice. He showed us what it means to trust, to feel, to rise together." As the sun set, she looked toward the stars. Somewhere out there, maybe Ryan's energy still traveled. Maybe the bond didn't end. Maybe it just changed. A soft breeze brushed her cheek, and for a second, just a second, she heard his voice. "Still watching over you, wife. She smiled, and the stars smiled back.